All right, so let's get the party started. As you know, again, for those of you that might have come in late, I'm Becky Setledge, and I am the 4-H agent here on the Big Island. And I'm also state coordinator for Junior Master Gardener Program. And it's great to have you guys all here with us this morning. And as we get ready for our 2021 Hawaii County 4-H Giant Fruit and Vegetable Contest season, you know, every year we've tried to do different things to kind of help everyone become more successful with this contest. And last year, the survey that we put out suggested that we try and host a couple workshops prior to everyone receiving their plants so that they could be better prepared. And one of the topics suggested was how to get your soil ready. And although plants will grow in less than ideal conditions to, you know, optimize your results, in this case, growing your fruits and vegetables to its largest potential, it's going to mean preparing that soil beforehand. And doing this is going to hopefully ensure that, you know, your plant gets the nutrients and the water that it needs to thrive and grow to its fullest potential. So with us today, we have Noah Dodd and Samantha Robinson from Hawaii Green Earth that have offered to talk to you all today about preparing your soil and getting it ready. Noah and Sam have been a part of our contest from the very beginning and have done very well with their entries over the years, and have also helped many contestants too, helping them to also be successful. And so we're very lucky to have them and their knowledge that they're going to be sharing with our group. So Noah and Sam, if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you guys.
Excellent.
Yep. Good morning. Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Ed, for helping out today.
And you may need to speak up just a little bit louder.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
training today, and so we had to make a makeshift setup. I'm under a pop-up tent, and Sam's inside a metal building, so I'll do my best to kind of yell at the phone. And we had to scale down. We wanted to go outside and go into doing a big actual production garden row with you guys, but I had to shrink it down. So we're going to have to use our imagination, and I'm going to do this smaller area underneath a pop-up tent for a visual display today. So bear with us. But yeah, a brief background for me was I've been doing giant vegetable growing maybe about, I don't know, 8 years now. It started at a school garden level when I was working in a school garden, and we collected seedlings from the 4-H Becky's group. I didn't really believe you could grow a vegetable that big. And we got like 100-pound pumpkin the first year. And I was amazed at that. And then so along with that, we got a prize, which was a book on how to grow the pumpkins. And the next year, we really tried to grow the pumpkin like it was in the book, and we got a 600-pound pumpkin. And I couldn't believe it. So, and ever since then, it's turned into an addiction for me, and I continue to do it. Sometimes even when common sense doesn't prevail. So today with the presentation, I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of products. A lot of them are going to be store-bought products, and it's based on a way that I'm doing agriculture myself and also help other people. But as we go along, what you guys are going to do too is I want you to think about what are some non-store-bought products. So if you're on a budget and you're trying to be thrifty with this, it's possible. You're just going to have to collect more stuff, recycle more things, and I'll show you some examples of what I've done today. To do that, I don't have everything on example today, but just as people are going along with this presentation, if you brainstorm and imagine those ideas, maybe we can share them with other people or help other people get access to materials if you have them. And also this at the end of this, I have Nutrien, who's my supplier. I have their product listing and a business card. And so I'll share that. We'll do a screenshot, and then I'll get those to Becky. She can hand those out too. So you guys can get your hands on these products that I show you today if you want to buy them here in Hawaii, the Big Island. I believe they're also in Oahu. It's a island-wide company. Okay. So inside my pop-up tent area, the example area, we're gonna imagine this is your garden area. And the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is kill the grass, get back the weeds, and get down to something like this. It looks like a xeriscape of dirt and weeds not existing. The more you can do this prior to planting your pumpkin, a lot better. So normally if you can put down a black plastic or kill the weeds for a couple weeks and actually stale the seeds so you don't have a bunch of weeds popping up in your pumpkin patch after you put out all this fertilizer, it's really important. So there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm not going to get into that today too much. You can use weed mat cloth. You can use plastic, tractors. You can use rototillers. A rototiller is a good way. One of the things you want to be thinking about is, keeping the topsoil and all the good stuff in there. You don't want to rip real deep and disturb the earth too much. So we try to do a shallow till or a less till program, but just my preference. In this situation, I've used a backhoe, not the most gentle, and this is an excavation. I'm actually a couple feet down in a cut, and I've done this before and had really good results. So what I've done, you can see kind of where I'm standing right here. This is a hard pan level. This is the clay. And then over here, I put the topsoil back over that hard pan. And this is just to demonstrate, this is a broad fork, but what you got to do to this hard pan, well, that was nice, is you got to kind of break it up like this before you put your topsoil back on. That's the first step. There's other ways. This is just how I'm doing it in this garden because of the excavation. If you had put your black plastic down, you killed all your weeds, and you think you're up for it, you can come in and just start forking it up. That's a really nice way to not disturb it too much. Once you get something like this all forked up, you don't want to walk on it a lot and compact it again. So this is some sawmill scrap I have, some boards. I'm just gonna put it down and show you. So I'm gonna find a maze, some sort of a trail pattern. You want to think about access to your patch. Some guys make these pumpkin walking shoes. I've never done it. I always just set out boards and make little trails like this. And then for this demonstration, I'm gonna take these flags and we're gonna say, okay, here's my giant pumpkin patch. I'm gonna do this one based on giant pumpkins. For tomatoes, it's different, and I'm gonna try to show you something with tomatoes. So here we go. Now we've dedicated, this could be 10 by 10, 20 by 20. You gotta decide. I think Becky did a square foot challenge with like 700 square feet. It was less. That's a great idea. You can get a big pumpkin, 10 by 10, 15 by 15. The real professional guys who are breaking the world records are growing in a 30 by 30 or a 20 by 20. It's pretty big.
Noah, you have a question. McLean, I'm gonna have you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question that you have.
Audio only on my phone because you're gonna lose them again. We're gonna lose data soon.
Hey, everybody. I'm wondering how deep the topsoil is that you have softened up there in your actual bed above the hard pack.
Did you hear that? Noah?
Yeah, okay, so for vegetables, you don't need more than 6 inches. So you don't really want to go down 12 inches. I would say the hard pack, like I said, I'm breaking up those 6 inches of fluff on top. So 4 to 6 inches is the answer. If you set your rototiller shallow until it only like 4 inches instead of letting it all the way down, you don't want to bring up the subsoil and mix it in with the topsoil.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So always another thing, you want to keep everything really nice and flat and level as much as you can. The more you do this, the reason why is when you start putting out your expensive fertilizer, the more consistent you can be with it not being bumpy and wavy, the better it is in the patch. So you're gonna go through, sift it out, think about your walkway design. And this is where we're gonna plant our pumpkin in this demonstration. So I have some soil here that I've really worked. I've ripped it up a lot. And one of the biggest things with the soil is it needs to be alive with the fungi, living organisms, microbes, mycorrhizal. Some of the leading growers who are doing stuff who are really winning, I know with the pumpkins, like Ron Wallace. Wow, he sells a mycorrhizal beneficial organism product for the soil. You need to get the soil back to life. If you have a naturally occurring garden that you've been working with for a long time and composting it, it probably already has it, but it's not a bad idea to boost the beneficial microbes when you're doing the pumpkin growing. So I'm going to show you a quick version of how I do that. I teach a whole hour workshop on this, so I'm just doing this for demonstration. This is rainwater. This is right here. This is a product that I use a lot. You can use other things. You can make it yourself, but this is EM1. It stands for Effective Microorganisms #1. You can't use chlorinated water because it will kill the microbes. There's 100 million forming colonies per cc in this liquid. So there goes the microbes. Microbes need the sugar. So here's molasses, off-grade molasses for like animal use. It's a lot cheaper. So I'm mixing it together. And in the real process, you'd let this sit for like 8 hours and multiply. Then you would they add like a wood mixture, like a sawdust wood shaving with a rice bran or a wheat bran. For today, I'm just gonna throw in some wood shaving. Wood shavings in. I mixed it up real good. This would ferment for about 2 weeks, and then I'd have my product. But for today's demonstration, it's done. It's been 2 weeks, I'm ready. I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna sprinkle those living microbes onto the soil. I'm inoculating my soil. This could be the Wallace Wow, the beneficial BAM, whatever you can find, get your hands on. Like I said, naturally occurring, really healthy compost has a lot of this. So now I put that down. I tend to like to be real gentle to them. So I'm not sure if I want my next fertilizer layer to touch right on them. I might do something like that, rake it in a little. But now we're gonna go ahead and start to dress this area. The microbes are down. Over here, I've got different products. This is Dolomite Ag 10, and we have 65, 10 and 65. The difference is one's powdered, one's granular. And what that's gonna do in the plant world is one is a fast release and one is a more slow release long-term product. It really matters if you look at like a tomato who's a lot faster in its life cycle versus a pumpkin who's 120 days. You really need to mix a little bit of those long-lasting nutrients into your patch. There is application ratios on the bag. This is about a 1 ton per acre product. Some of these products are super high power. I am not going to get into detailed application rates today. I used to be a chef. I understand what I'm showing you, sort of like nutrition guidelines for a human being. So certain items a plant can eat more of, some items a plant needs to eat less of. Over time, you're gonna learn this. They can eat a lot of ag lime, and anytime you have a product that's a 1 ton per acre product, it's a pretty heavy application. You might be using a lawn spreader or some other sort of fertilizer spreader. I have always broadcast it by hand. When you're doing this, I might make this look kind of fun and stuff, but you got to be really careful with the products that you're using. Don't breathe the dust. If you need to wear gloves, you should wear gloves, and make sure when the wind is blowing, you're not having wind blowing the dust back at you, because even though they're organic products, you still don't want to get them all over you. So that first one was the granular. Here's the powdered. Okay, and then this next one I'm gonna put out is calcium carbonate. CalCarb is crushed coral. It used to come from the island. Our crushed coral pit got shut down. CalCarb, it's a soil builder as well as a long-term product that lasts for a long time in the soil. You can put a lot of it, but if you put too much, it can lock things up. So once again, CalCarb is a 1 ton per acre product. This is a fancy one. They've made it into a prill, so it can go in a spreader for golf courses. Okay, this one is super important over here. It's a K-Mag 0022 magnesium. We really have a deficiency of that over here. Pumpkins like to eat it. This is not a 1 ton per acre product. It's probably more like a 1/4 ton per acre. It's a lot stronger. Okay. This is neem seed cake. This neem cake, there's a lot of different varieties of it. It's a tree that grows. It grows here in Hawaii, tropical areas. They press the seed cake. It has beneficial qualities to keep insects away, and especially nematodes. You could do 1 ton per acre, but I find a balance. It's a medicine. Pretty light. I go pretty light. Some plants don't like it. Pumpkin does. One trick with the neem cake is throw it around your patch too, to make a barrier to deter. It smells away the bugs. This is humate crumble, dried up here. It's basically ancient ocean seabed. 1 handful is the equivalent of 40 wheelbarrows of compost. It's really strong, but plants can eat a lot of it. It's a great way to add organic matter and micronutrients when you don't have a bunch of compost.
What does that know? It's humate?
Yeah.
It's humate. Yes.
You can see why keeping things even is really important. It's kind of like frosting a cake. Now I got to put out a triple something product. I've chosen organic crumbles. This is a organic 432 chicken crumble. It's not too strong, but you don't want to go too heavy. You can read that application rate.
At the end, I'll go by each bag with a screenshot so everyone can see the products we're using as well.
That was a 432. I also have another one.
And then Sam, you guys mentioned that you would send me a list. Is that
Organic
right? And
crumbles.
then I can send that out to everybody.
Yeah, we can totally do that.
Thank you.
Sorry, and it just started really coming down too, so I know it's probably hard to hear. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, now biochar. Biochar, charcoal, very important. I once had I excavated a hillside, and a professor came from Stanford, and he pointed back in the hillside, and he found a layer of charcoal, and he said, that's 400 years ago when the Hawaiians were farming here. Charcoal is elemental to the soil, the building block, the carbon cycle. I'm not going to go off on that, but biochar next.
So question for you guys, while Noah's grabbing that biochar, what is your recommendation as far as how early should they be putting these all these amendments
You
that
can add
you're,
up to 20%.
Hey, Noah, hold on. She has a question.
I
Sorry,
was
what
just,
that, Becky?
I was just asking, as far as the amending of the soil, at what point or what time do we want them to be doing this? Do we want them to be doing it a
Well,
month before they get their
in-
plants, or the summer before, or what?
Well, as far ahead really as possible, almost, so it has time to sit in there and do its thing. And Noah's saying 2 weeks.
Max.
Max. Okay, 2 weeks max.
Okay,
You can do it the same day.
Yeah.
The main thing is you killed those weeds 2 weeks before you did this. That's the most important thing.
Because otherwise your weeds are going to be eating everything you put in there.
Ideally, in a lot of natural farming, they do this and they cover it for 1 week and then peel it back and then go, and you'll see all this white fang mycorrhizal. Okay, you're getting pretty darn close to most of the things you really need in that soil. The next thing you need to do is add compost to this. So I have a compost that we have from the sawmill, and it's like tree bark and wood, and a lot of wood. There's no manure in it. So if you use a compost that's mainly wood products, it's going to be lacking nitrogen. It's going to be a higher, like 60-to-1 compost ratio versus a 30-to-1. What I'm talking about is the carbon to nitrogen ratio. So it's so important if you're using like green waste or a wood product to figure out how to get a manure-based compost as well. So I'm going to be using 2 products today, the wood compost and then a manure-based compost. I make my own chicken manure compost, but today I didn't have time to go up to the chicken barn and get it. So I'm going to use this bag product right here. Not my favorite thing. It is organic. It's high powered. I'd recommend a 1/2-inch layer of this. Big clumps, you can throw them out. This one smells a little bit. It's not that bad, but you know, the product that I get from my chicken barn doesn't smell. That's where those beneficial microbes help. It will go away after a day or two, but I'm just being honest with you. It does have a little smell. Oh, I got carried away, but it's okay. You could do this too. You forgot something. It's not a game ender at this point. This is Mineral Mix. It's a product that I make. It targets the trace minerals, micronutrients. Has a lot of green sand, cow phos, kelp meal. I use it in my pumpkin patch. It's a 1 ton per acre product, but you can go pretty light with it too. If you got seaweed, ocean water, there's ways people talk about using those. That's a great way to get it for free. There you go. Micronutrient minerals, really important. Now I'm gonna come in. I have this product over here. It's a bagged one. I'll show it to you guys. If you don't have access to compost, you can buy it. This is like a bagged compost. It says breaks up hard clay soil. It's a soil building conditioner. It says it has all sorts of stuff in it. Normally, they look like wood chips. I don't like them so much. I'd use this on my walkway probably. But I'm just showing you guys there are options. So I'm gonna put on this a little heavier, probably about 1 inch. So that was a 1/2 inch of that manure. And then I put a nice 1 inch top dress of my readily available free compost. That could be anything, but the trick is you gotta get that high powered manure kick in there. Wouldn't get the same results with just this wood compost. I have the same surface level. It's nice and flat. I still have my walkways. I'm getting pretty excited at this point. It's when you're gonna go back in and you're gonna walk down your walkway if you had to. Sometimes you might have to put your board here in a bigger field to get in there. Start your broad forking. What you're doing here, you're just sifting that fertilizer and breaking that compost up into your topsoil. There's a lot of little tools people are using to do this. There's something called a tilther. Johnny Seeds makes it with a drill powered tilther. This is what you're doing is you're tilting at this point. You're mixing this up. I'm just gonna go down the road to finish it up. Just so you guys see, I don't want to actually like lift the fork up and over. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's more of this movement. Once you do this, you want to work your way back. Remember, you don't want to walk on that. This is like premium fluffiness. You could take a rake and knock it down and make it nice if you wanted, but that's it. You don't want to do that. Now remember, here this patch is your 20 by 20 or whatever it is. Well, the pumpkin should also be mounded up. It wants even more stuff. So right here, what I normally do is I'll take like a wheelbarrow and I'll do some special concoction of soil mixing. Nothing more crazy than what you've seen here, but I'll just put in another pile of compost, right where the pumpkin's gonna go. Mound it up with some more goodies in there. This is really important because what you want when you plant that pumpkin in there, you don't want to water right on the trunk of that pumpkin stem. That pumpkin stem likes to be a little dry, and so does that root ball. So what this does is I water around this edge. I water around here. So when you're done doing your field, you might have something that looks like this. I think that is a soil prepping that's real great. One thing to consider is the only thing I haven't done is I've left this open to the environment. And like there was a question, well, how long before you plant into this? You can plant the same day, 3 to 5 days, give it a little rest can be ideal. But what you don't want to do is let this sit uncovered for 3 to 5 days before you plant, because a lot of the material I just put in and all that nitrogen in particular will gas off. So you need to lock it in. Compost works if you have abundance amounts of compost. You can just come in with like a real light layer, lock it in. Straw, cut grass. Wood shavings would be fine. You're using it as a mulch. Other people are using black plastic mulches or plastic mulches. It could get way too hot and damp in there in Hawaii. You got to be careful. So now you're getting closer to getting this blanket on there. Locking it in. So if you leave it like this and you live in a really dry area, a dry climate, you need to get some moisture out to get things going. Watering it in is good. If you know it's going to rain, let it get rained in. At this point in time, you would consider setting up a drip irrigation system or your irrigation. You may have done that prior to this, but at this point is where I would run out the drip tape. So it's been 3 to 5 days. Even during that time, while this is kind of marinating in there, you could set out your drip line. And with pumpkin growing, then that comes into the pattern of the style of the pumpkin you're going to grow. Are you going to grow a flag style, a flagpole? There's the Christmas tree. There's all these different patterns. You could just cover the entire area with a grid. What I prefer to do is, if here's my pumpkin orange, here it is. I'll take my drip line and I'll actually run right down where I'm going to run the pumpkin down the main straight chute. So the pumpkin vine will grow right along my drip line. And then as it has horizontal branches that come out, I'll run another drip tape with those horizontal branches. I also will set up a sprinkler and do overhead water. I'll have that capability, but the majority of the water for the pumpkin, I put through the drip tape, or I try to get onto the soil without getting the pumpkin leaf wet all the time. That's a really big trick. If you can somehow figure that out. And then at the hottest part of the day, say 12 o'clock, the pumpkin leaves will start to want to sag and prostrate. I might have that sprinkler click on and just cool down the pumpkin patch just for maybe a minute. It's not really trying to get water into the ground. That's an ideal situation. You can just water it with a garden hose. I last year did none of this, and I had no watering capability. I had to truck water up in the back of my truck, and I was pouring it out by hand, and we got a 350-pound pumpkin. I think maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was a big pumpkin. So what I'm showing you guys is a textbook kind of ideal situation. What you should be thinking about is what resources you have available, what kind of water sources you have, how you're going to get that water out. A giant pumpkin on its vigorous days, in its biggest grow days, can put anywhere between 20 to 40 pounds on a day. So when they're growing explosively and you have the right conditions of a hot sun climate, they'll drink a lot of water. They'll drink a lot of water. I think that's one reason I had a smaller pumpkin. I wasn't able to get out enough water on it last year, carrying the water. If you live in a really wet area, like let's say Hilo side, and you know it's gonna rain a lot, it might be the opposite. You might need to think about how are you gonna shelter your pumpkin patch area. So design is important. They hate the wind. Pumpkins really don't like wind, but they want a lot of sunlight. Normally the two things don't mix. You've got a bunch of trees that are providing your area of no wind, and there's shade, and so you won't get enough sun. As much sun as you can get, 8 to 12 hours is ideal. I use products like windscreens. I'll put up windscreen, and I know Sam just gave me a 10-minute mark. I'm going to try to start wrapping this up, so I'm going to shoot out some more information. Covering the pumpkin, making like a enclosure. If this is your area, you could just take some metal T-posts and some pallets and close around this, and then put like mosquito netting over it. You know, there's really cheap ways to kind of close off your pumpkin patch and keep the bugs out. But in the tropics over here, if you can make a little insect house, it doesn't have to be a greenhouse, an insect house, by bug netting it, it's excellent. It will also provide a windbreak for you. If you're in a really wet area, think about putting a little bit of plastic over that pumpkin, especially this part, and keeping this area dry. And you could gamble with letting it get a lot of water out here and see what happens. During the time that this pumpkin's in here and it's growing, there's a lot of different stages, but you're going to be looking at, one is a vigorous nitrogen growth pattern. You want to get this field filled up as fast as you can. So during that, not only what I put into that soil is enough, I'm actually going to start doing liquid feedings on it. So this right here is a sub pump. It goes into a barrel and a garden hose. Right here, you can just attach a garden hose. And then this plugs into your generator or a wall socket. And so you could have something like this, or you could just at this point mix up your tea and then have a watering can. Doesn't have to be fancy. Poke some holes in a coffee can with a nail. So same guys that make the crumbled product. I don't have, the one I'm missing today is the seaweed cream, but I've got humic acid, liquid humic acid. It's like Maxi Crop. Again, this is a kind of like a liquid seaweed micronutrients. And then here, this is Fish Omega 411. So that Fish Omega is my nitrogen. I'm giving this a nitrogen boost. This is a product I know at 1 ounce per gallon of water, it's not going to burn. So for me, I'm like, okay, I've got two gallons of water, 2 ounces of liquid fish. I go lighter on this. You can go at 1 ounce, but what I do is I start out lighter and I build up over the season. So there, say we were at 2 gallons of water, instead of 2 ounces, I've just done 1 ounce of this. Then if I had it, I might add that liquid seaweed cream. I don't have it, but also I would add a liquid calcium. I don't have that today. But what I do have is a powdered liquid soluble calcium. So right here, this dissolves and is readily available now in this liquid form as calcium. And calcium is the #1 game ender for a lot of the giant vegetables. They don't get enough of it, and you just can't give them enough almost in the soil. So foliarly is really important to get that calcium, the ready available calcium out. So I'm mixing that up. Another thing I'm looking around, oh, I got my microbes. Bam, microbes. This is just agricultural brand of Epsom salt, really magnesium sulfate. If you look at it, it looks like salt. I'm not going to get into all of what this does, but it is very important, but it's very strong. So for 5 gallons of water, I do about 1 tablespoon. If you've ever got a part per million meter out, now is when the science of all this starts going off the radar.
Somebody asked about non-commercial supplements of calcium.
That would be bones. So you can take grilled bones, crush up bones, and soak them in vinegar.
The only thing with vinegar is you have to be careful of your pH with vinegars.
Yeah.
So just watch and monitor your pH with something like that.
Other ways to get it out, but you know, eggshells, people do eggshells. There's bone meal products, but you basically have to steep those bones. And after you grill them, it makes it more available. You steep them in something and extract that liquid. The natural farming guys have some recipes out there. If you Google how to make liquid calcium, you'll find a bunch of things. I can't find it. I have a paint strainer bag somewhere. Here it is. So this is another thing you can do. This is a paint strainer bag from HPM. I just put compost. I just put my compost in here. And you're teabagging it too. This is a pretty power-packed tea right here. For lack of time, I could teach about this for a whole hour, just this right here. We're gonna kind of take this idea, and what you would do is pump that out. Probably on giant vegetables, I've done it every 3 to 5 days. They eat a lot. But what happens is, once you get a vigorous nitrogen growth, you want to back off on the nitrogen, or else you're just going to have an endlessly vigorously green growing vegetative cycle. You want to trick it into switching over. So I found this bottle today. It's empty, but it has no nitrogen in it, and it's more of a, what I want to say is phosphorus, but this is not it. But once you get your patch full and you're starting to think about making that pumpkin, you want to switch the nutrients over, and you're going to cut out that nitrogen, and you're going to start doing liquid phosphorus and more things that say for flowering. You want to trigger the flower aspect of it. So I, over time, will cut out the nitrogen and switch up to high phosphorus for a period of time. And then once everything's going well, I might introduce nitrogen again, a very small amount, just to keep the vigorousness of the greenness going. So the liquid tea is, it's an art, and it's something definitely to get into. You can make it simple, you can make it hard. There's so much information out there, but just in a nutshell, that's it. Another great thing inside of the liquid tea would be worm casting. So if you had your own worm box, if you add the worm castings in here and you teabag that, oh boy, you know, there's an Alaska Bloom product. It's a liquid fish product, but it's like it's fish bloom, they call it. It's all bloom. So that's what I'm trying to say is, in the beginning, nitrogen, in the middle, phosphorus tea, bloom tea. In the end, watch out, not too much nitrogen. You can crack your pumpkin just a little bit. So I think I hit my time mark. What's that? Let me show the product. I think we're gonna go over and show the products up close so you guys can see them. Oh, my bad. One last thing. So it's my last thing. I also spray. So a backpack sprayer or something, you've got to spray for insects. And this is a real quick insect spray idea. So you have 5 gallons of water. You're gonna make a 5-gallon spray mixture in here, pour it in your backpack sprayer. This is insecticidal soap. It's OMRI approved. It's soap. It's basically soap. So if you didn't have this, you could come up with like Dr. Bronner's soap. This is Tritech. It's a mineral oil, horticultural oil. So it's 1 ounce per gallon. I've got 5 gallons of water, 5 ounces of this, 5 ounces of my insect soap. These are 2 products I'm using right now. Pyganic and Debug Turbo. They're the same thing. They're 1 ounce per gallon. They're super strong. They're great. I'm not going to get into what they are right now, but here I go. This is, I wouldn't use both. I would alternate. Don't use both, but you choose one and it's best to rotate products. These are the 2 I rotate through. 5 gallons of water, 5 ounces. That's 3 ingredients in there right now. It's a 4-in-1 spray, meaning 3 ingredients. Here's my last ingredient. Dipel. It's really important. I have another one. Zentari. This kills this is how I can help control the pickle worm and all the worms that try to get in there. So that is probably a lot less. I would say about 1 teaspoon per gallon. So I put 5 teaspoons in. Mix that up, put that in your backpack sprayer, shake it up real good, and spray. But you want to spray in the morning or at night. You don't want to spray when it's raining. And the spray is effective for about 2 weeks. Sometimes I spray all the time. I spray every 3 to 5 days on the vegetables. It can be really a lot of spraying. So I didn't want to cheat you guys short in this. Sorry for going long, but if you don't have a spray program set up, you can go to Ace Hardware and they have like insecticidal.
We have Dipel and the Zentari. They're both a BT sort of supplement, different types of BT. And that's for the pickle worm. And we're gonna go by, like I said, I'll show you guys all the products right now. Noah can keep talking, but I'm gonna show you guys the products because it's 10.
And we started a little bit late, so if people want to keep hanging on, we're not going to cut it off until we're all finished. So
they had the insecticidal soap, the horticultural oil, the Dolomite limes, Ag 10, Ag 65, calcium carbonate, K-Mag. Back here was the neem cake pellets. This one is real important. The Live Earth Products soil conditioner. That's, remember, 1 handful is 40 wheelbarrows of compost. Your Easy Green. That's your high Kung Pao. Your 432 with a 7% calcium. That's a big plus for pumpkins. BioFlora, same guys from the Liquid Nutrient 665. And those were our other products. Liquid, you can get Maxi Crop bottles smaller, but you can see it's the same guys, BioFlora. It's on the product list that I have. That's why I went out and got the product list. So if you guys want it, it's about a 3-page list. It's got all these products on there and more. Sam and I are happy to help. I also let the salesman know he might be getting people wanting to do this.
And here is our reps information. And then we're gonna supply Becky with a copy of the products list as well. So everyone can have that. And I believe that's it. Does anyone have any questions? All right, I guess not. Excellent.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Noah and Sam. You've provided us with a lot of great information today. And thank you for everybody that's attending or has been attending. And hope you found that, you know, this workshop was helpful for you and that you were able to pick up a few good tips that you can try this year in your garden plots. And let me get back into gallery view so I can see everybody again.
And feel free to contact us anytime with any questions. We're happy to help. I know it's a competition, but what's fun having competition without real competition? So we're happy to help.
There you go. So, all right. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and let everyone go. Just a reminder that in April 10th, mark your calendar for our orientation day. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about you know, our layout of the contest, our plant and seed distribution, growing tips, and more. Okay. And we'll make sure that we send that information out to you guys by email. So kind of start looking for that. And also mark your calendar for the first Saturday of May when we're going to have our annual contest seminar. And that has always been a real popular one that you won't want to miss, where we'll be bringing in 3 wonderful growers that grow giants on the mainland. They've either won state records for their state, or they've won world records with their entries that they've had. And it's a great opportunity to ask any question that you ever had about growing giants. They're really, really great. They don't, there isn't anything that they won't answer. Let's just put it that way. They've been really good. If you've got a question, they'll tell you what it is that they're doing. So start thinking about some questions that you've always had about growing giants. Jot them down. That program is going to be in May, and it'll be real informal too. So, so again, it won't be an actual presentation, but instead it'll be something where you can just ask whatever questions that you have. We start up discussion that way, and it's a lot of fun. So look forward to seeing you guys again in April for our orientation. And with that, again, thank you, Sam and Noah, for your wonderful presentation. As soon as they send me the information, I'll go ahead and make sure that you guys get that information by email. So look for it. Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Aloha, everyone.
Bye. Have a great weekend, everybody.